Hello, everyone. You know what? Allison, I don't even know what podcast. I think it's 28. This is podcast 28, but this is Twyla Ellis, Trophy of Grace podcast, and I want to thank you all for joining us. I have a guest. I have a beautiful young lady, a beautiful soul. We met on social media, and I was just so impressed with her transparency and with her courage to speak on her life and different challenges and how she dealt with it. And just something like kindred spirit that hit me that I'm like, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? And she was like, hey, yeah. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself, but we're gonna just
Thank
gonna have a
you.
Q&A. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
I am Allison Dewberry, and well, Allison Dewberry Bartkowski actually, but I go by Allison Dewberry, and I thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it. And your story has been, it's been, it, it sounds horrible, comforting in a way that there's an understanding. So,
Yeah,
um,
I hear that a
but
lot.
yeah, I'm glad I get to talk to you.
And most of the people who are on this podcast that are subscribed to this podcast, they have seen the transition from the original story and theme of the podcast was, of course, sexual abuse, trauma, and just women's. Well, actually, I've had a lot of men say different things and inbox me as well. But my niche is women, empowering women, and helping us to see things from a different perspective, especially as a certified life coach and get my master's in psychology. It has empowered me even more for God to use me. Everybody know I'm faith based, and it's just I'm just kind of going with the flow a lot of the times. I do have a script, but I never stay with the script. So we're going to continue that as well. And I just want you to be comfortable and just kind of share, like if a young lady is listening and she has been a victim of sexual abuse, like most of the people know my story, and I shared with some of with you too. What I share with you has been told on several podcasts before this, and it's just different perspectives and different seasons. And I just felt like you could bring something more to the table as well from your experience. You just share as much as you want to and give us some how you're dealing with it and how.
Sure, sure. Um, Well, I'll tell you really quick. So, I was abused by my grandmother as a child, and that was weird because you kind of are taught that bad man, bad man. For a
Yeah,
little girl, you're looking for the bad man,
man.
not
Yeah.
a beautiful, well-respected
No.
lady that in a way never physically, hurt me, never hit me. I didn't bruises,
Hmm.
but
Right.
so it was very confusing, and it took me until just the last couple years when my brother came to me and said that it was happening to him too as a kid.
Mhm.
When I found out it happened to him, that's when it turned into sexual abuse or molestation to me. I had never really thought of it as that with
Mhm.
me. I just kind of like, because I had to take care of her until her, in her old age. I was with her
Right.
all the time. And it
Right.
was just something that I never was scared of her, but it didn't become what it actually was in my head until I found out it happened to my brother. And then when I found that out, it became something completely different. And I realized I started accepting what it was.
Mhm.
Um, and I think, and I never told anyone my whole life until my brother came to me and brought it up to me. And I made a very big mistake with him, which is why I'm kind of trying to be a lot more open now. When he brought it up to me, he kind of wanted to talk about it, and said the worst things that I could say. I told him, she's gone. There's nothing anyone can do now, and if you bring it up to our parents, it's just going to hurt them because they can't go back and save us. And that'll be painful to know that that happened. And I said, so just we just and I basically told him to do what I have always done my whole life with everything, and that's just you know what? It's over. It's done. Get over it. Move on. And not long after that, he made an attempt to take his life. Um, and not just because that he dealt with mental illness, as I have too, but fortunately, taking 100 Valium didn't kill
Mhm.
him.
Wow.
Had he taken one other type of medication or alcohol with it, it would have.
Mhm.
And he's doing a lot better now. And I learned a lot from that,
Mhm.
from basically telling someone, shut up, keep it to yourself.
Mhm.
And that's how I've always felt. And I was abused as a child. I was raped as a teenager. And then I was in a very abusive relationship in my 20s. And I never told anyone. I kept to myself. And I always thought, if I tell my mom, she's going to go, you know what? I told you if you go to those high school parties, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What did you expect? And so it was like, I just thought, I'm going to get in so much trouble and she'll
Yeah.
be right. Like she always told me there's drinking at these parties and
Right.
so, and embarrassment, shame, um, and I could have never told a close family member, but what I could have done, and so what I would say to anyone going through it and not telling anyone
Mhm.
is to find a friend or even almost a stranger, someone at school, because
Mhm.
it's easier for me, so much easier for me to tell someone that is not a close family member,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
not a close friend,
Mhm.
um, especially someone who has understanding and has gone through it. It's so much easier for me to talk about it, and I wish I had years and years ago, um, because it's hard to go at in your 40s for the first time go, okay, I was sexually abused as a child, which I always knew what
Yeah.
happened for
Yeah.
a long period of time when I was with her, but I just didn't ever address it as what it was.
Mhm.
And I think people or kids do that anyways,
Oh,
whether it was a
yeah.
man on a
Yeah.
girl, it's
Right.
you just kind of just
Right.
put it in a compartment and
Right.
move on, and
Right.
then someday down the road it somehow comes up and you're not ready. And
Yeah.
I wasn't ready when my brother brought it up, but
Yeah. Well, can I
it's
say to you, you did what you did in that time was appropriate and was the only thing that you could do, and the only thing that you were capable of doing. Because how can you interject something to someone different than how you live and how you think? It's like when
uh,
people, it's like when people feel a certain way. For instance, if you talking to a woman and she already feels bad about herself, and you come along and say something that lines up with an emotion that's already inside of her own heart or her mind, then that's going to compound it and make it worse. But
mhm.
the thing is this: you how could you give him something you didn't have? You weren't handling it. You hushed.
Oh no.
Yeah, you stuffed it. So how can you tell him not to stuff it when you stuffing it? So I just, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I know you're gonna probably, but I'm gonna pray by the grace of God that you release any guilt, because it's not your.
I'm getting better with it, but it's still hard because in my head, logically, when he approached me with that, I know logically what should someone in this situation do, but that's not what happened. When he told me, I just went. It just so much emotion hit when I
Yeah.
found out it wasn't just me, and it was like, okay, just
Exactly.
zip it and just keep going, move on, like
Exactly.
we always do.
Like you always do. Exactly. And when we're told that, people like to say, well, parents and this culture and this person, they like this family, these type of people always say stuff. A lot of families do that. That's not
Uh,
restricted to a culture. A lot of families do that.
a lot of
Don't tell
families do.
anybody. Keep it in this house, blah, 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 blah. And that's the worst thing we can do, because
Hmm.
I did that too. Who
I
am I
think
gonna tell?
Generation X was really good at that. I'm late in Gen X, and that was still because the parents, what generation they were, and that's what you did. You fix your makeup and move on.
Yes. Exactly, exactly, and that's one reason
Women
I'm saying
cry in the
counseling,
shower and
the
get it
therapy.
out.
Yes, and that's exactly why I wanted to. God, when I was like, okay, God, I want to help people. I want to be a coach, a counselor. I'm doing both. I'm like, we gotta talk. We gotta get help. keeping it in is detrimental. It's like taking poison. It's just very detrimental to keep it in. And that's why we're on this platform now. That's why I thank God. That's why I said your courage and your transparency, that's a sign of healing on you. That's a sign that you are healing because you're not trying to be quiet. You're not trying to stifle it and
Not
hold it
anymore.
in. No, your
It's
healing is
therapeutic to me.
yes.
It is. And
Yes.
actually, the same person that you heard me talking to on social media,
Mhm.
previously I had been on his live stream, and I was talking to him. He was the first person that I actually came out
Out.
and just started talking openly about it, because they were talking about women that were abused and in domestic abuse situations, and I felt like I needed to jump on and tell them what it's like when a woman's in a situation, because people get so mad. Well, she doesn't want to leave, she wants to stay in it, how can we help her? And so
Yeah.
I got on and I just started talking about it, and I said, that woman doesn't trust anyone, and to believe that you as a friend are going to be there to let her live with you, financially support her,
Right.
because she's going to walk away from something with nothing. She's going to
Right.
walk away homeless, and she
Right.
has to trust that you are not going to give up on her. And when you
Right.
already, the first time you say, come on, leave that, and she
Not,
hesitates, and you go, oh, I guess you want to stay, and
yeah.
right there she can't.
Right.
So I jumped in on to talk to him one time, and I
Right.
just started talking about everything, and that was the first time and he said there was a lot of people that he said it helped them, and it helped to understand, and I was like, okay, well, that kind of made me feel better about it and easier,
Yeah.
and that's how I kind of started feeling better about talking about it.
Oh, good. That's good. That was when I heard you. That was my first time on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't even know how long he's been doing that. I was just led to
um
it.
yeah, I've known him a few months, and he's a really nice guy. He's a great guy. But they're just a kind of social platform of people. There's not a professional that's, it's kind of just
Yeah.
a venting thing. So I
Right.
think sometimes they aren't they aren't sure how to handle it when somebody comes on there and starts talking, and
Right.
that can be a little dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. I
For
agree.
certain people. I think I'm pretty tough with it. So,
Mhm.
I've had people get very judgmental of me, and and that doesn't bother me at all, because I understand why they are, and
Right.
but for some people, that try to come out and start talking to people, it can be dangerous if they open up and that person's not equipped to receive what they're
Right.
saying, or
Right.
um, it
Right.
could shut them up for good.
Right.
So,
Right. Exactly. That's called in psychology. That's double trauma. That's double trauma. They've been traumatized, and then when that happens, it's a double trauma. And it can be, but by the grace of God, people like you and I, because I'll say something too. I'm like, no, that's not the way it is. Let's clear that up. But I just, I, I mean, if a young lady or a man or something is listening now, what is something that you would say if they're saying like, I just can't do it. I just can't say anything. I just can't. I don't know what to do.
it's hard, because I remember being in that place,
Like,
and I don't know what would have made me um believe or have faith in someone that's there to help. I don't know what would have totally helped me, but um I think the biggest thing is just tell someone what's going on. At least have one person, because in bad situations, anything can happen. If no one really knows what's going on with you in your domestic situation, or child sexual abuse or rape, or whatever.
right.
If no one really knows what happens, and something happens, or you disappear, or someone can't find you, and no one knows what was going on,
Mhm.
it makes it a lot more difficult. But if you have someone that knows what's going on, even if you're not able to get out of a situation yet, you have someone that can check on you, and someone that can just make sure you're still, trucking along a little bit. And once you tell one person what's going on and nothing horrible happens, there's not some big explosion that you're waiting
Yes.
for, just like the
Yes.
the floor to fall out. But
Yes.
once you tell one person that you trust and it's safe, and that person is okay, not okay with, but they will be patient and not try to force you out of a situation before you're ready. But at least you can tell them, and then you realize, okay, nothing horrible happened, and they're still my friend.
Right.
And
Right.
and then you feel, okay, it's not, nothing really bad's going to happen if I tell someone.
Right.
And when you tell one person, you kind of have a shoulder to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always, my biggest thing is always to the people that are the shoulder, or they don't know how to handle it, or they don't, just don't give up on the person. And if somebody is in a bad situation and they can't leave yet, or and you don't know why, and you don't understand why they want to stay, or why they're not running away, or why, just be patient and prove to them that you're not going to disappear. Just prove to them, when you're ready, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
not going to give up on you, and I'm here, and I'll be the shoulder for you. I will be an ear for you. And that's hard, because sometimes you don't know, do I call the police? But you
Mm-hmm.
have to remember that if you're the person they trusted, that is a lot on your shoulders, and you have to carry it the right way. And it's hard, but it's, I think, more on that person in that situation than it is the person trying to leave, or you know
Mm-hmm.
um, because it all depends on if they can trust. And so I would just tell anybody, if it's just a friend that you trust, someone you
Mm-hmm.
barely even know, someone that you
Mm-hmm.
met on
Mm-hmm.
social media, tell someone your
Yeah.
situation. Just let them know, so they can make sure you're okay. Check in with you, and if you ever say, pick me up right now, there's someone
Yeah.
that's knowledgeable of what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And because most of the time no one ever knows
Right.
what people are going through. And
And that is, oh, Allison, that's the best advice. That's the best thing you could say. You know, I mean, that you didn't use the same words I would use, but that's unconditional love, and that everything you said, and on faith based it has a biblical principle to it. Everything you just didn't use
Mhm.
scripture, but everything you just said is a biblical principle in the way God will want us to handle it. And God, and that's what I'm going to pray,
and
that God send somebody to anybody listening that will have that relentless, unconditional love and perseverance and patience for them to be there and never give up on them until they come out of that dark space.
Mm. um, I, I think social media and being exposed to so many more people that I wouldn't actually be exposed to and get the opportunity to meet in real life, I guess, um,
Yes.
is there's so many people that I've met. I have a friend that's a therapist that she's got a group on TikTok and I think Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll do these live streams, and women will come into her live
Mm-hmm.
stream,
Okay.
and they'll create an account that's secretive, and they'll tell their story in there, and then
Okay. Cool.
they'll start helping with a plan of if she's trying to get out. And so there are things
Oh
like
wow.
that, like if people don't have a friend to talk to, go to find someone that is
Yeah.
supportive of your situation and
Right.
talk to them, because
That's good.
women who have been through it are the biggest allies to have, and they will
Yes.
they will come up with a plan,
Yes.
like
Yes.
undercover FBI. I mean, they're
Yes.
good.
Expert. Experts. Experts, because
Yeah.
we can relate. Experts at
Hmm.
it. And I thank God for that. God, secret agents.
It is. Women are good, especially women that have been through stuff and they've
Yeah.
started healing. They have the plan. They know what to do, and
Right.
they will get you out.
Yes. Yes. I'm working on something right now that's kind of similar to helping in that capacity. But I'm not going to hold you much longer because I may want, well, I know I will want you to come back. And if I keep you too long, you'll be like, nah, I don't want to come back. You kept me too long.
No, I'd love to. I've never been on a podcast before. No, I'd love to. I'd love to.
Yes,
Um,
yes, I really do. If it's nothing but a part two, and
if I
then
can
plus
help
something
someone
else.
with my story, or just just so that somebody knows someone's been through the same
Yeah,
thing. But in the same way, it's my therapy that I'm just starting. So
that's
it's
it.
uh, it's going to be a lifelong process for me, and I if I can help anyone by just sharing my story, and then also help myself, I guess. And it's
Yeah,
forgiving myself is the hardest part because that's the big thing. We blame ourselves for a lot of
right,
stuff that we go through, and that's that's
right,
the hardest part, I think, is loving yourself, and
right,
that'll be a long process for me.
right.
But
Well, I pray it don't be too long because nothing you've discussed with me, and I know you can't see it from my eyes, but you are, you are amazing.
thank
You are
you.
amazing,
Aw,
and
thank you.
I'm
I
gonna.
really enjoyed talking to you, so
Well, we're gonna
I
talk again.
appreciate the opportunity to come on with you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to talk again. I'm going to let you go now. I want to thank everybody for listening to Trophy of Grace podcast, and be blessed and tune in next, I don't know, it'll be a week or so. But thank you so much, Allison. Thank you so much.